Hello everyone, welcome to Prime Number. Today is the fun part. Finally, we're gonna start implement the function to submit your request to the blockchain. We're gonna use the EOS testnet to test our API. Let's get started. I renamed the index to request sake because I'm gonna create another function, so it's better to separate into two files. And the index file will include both of the function and export them together. And based on the Google document, I'll just copy the example here. Our function is ready. It listens to the event of the file-based store change, and once there's an on-write event, this function will be triggered. But since I know nothing about the change and the context, I want to try it out. So let's deploy it. Now I add a new field called status, and I set the value to be paid, and you will see automatically the transaction ID is changed to test. Now the next step is to really update using the real transaction ID after you submit to the blockchain. Let's start with the EOS blockchain. So this is the EOS JavaScript library. Let's add that first. now it goes into the send EOS transaction method and throw an unauthorized error. So it looks like I need to update. Yeah, I need to update this. Okay, now we have the test passed. The test looks like this. You have a file-based test, which is the file-based function test package, and you initialize with database URL, project ID, and this is the credential file. And I delete this testing record every time after the test is run to make sure the testing is not depends on the previous result. Based on the Google documentation, I need to create two objects. One is the before snap and after snap. Those are two database record snapshot. And I'm using the test event environment, which is from the test package, to create the change object. And then I wrap my function using the test environment wrap. And then I call this wrap function by providing the change. And after the function called, so the function will actually run here and log something. And if it's paid, before it's not paid and current is paid, is actually send the EOS transaction, providing a constant ID, which this one should coming from the new value ID, and then I will update the database record with the actual transaction ID and the submitted date. If something goes wrong, it logs the error, and this is the copy paste of the EOS.js documentation. There's still some improvement. For example, the private key cannot be put in the code, and the from and to is better to be configurable, because in the testnet and the real EOS network, that will be different. And also the quantity is different too. So let's make those change. Okay, now for the memo, I just put the ID in there. Also, we need somewhere to be able to set this private key. External network is not accessible and quotas are severely limited. Configure billing account to remove this restriction. Billing account. Now, I successfully upgraded my plan to pay as you go. I sent the request again, and I got it submitted. I get the record, update to paid. Oh, now I got the submitted date, which is about 15 seconds later, and I got the transaction ID. I can search the transaction ID in the testnet, right? Yes, so here we go. This is the transaction, block number, transfer from this guy, and let's see the memo. Oops, the memo is empty. Okay, now let's give it a test. I create a new ID, it's 7. I submit to file base, and I got 7, it's in it, and someone paid me. After a few seconds, you can see that's about 15 seconds. Got the ID and search in the testnet for the transaction. I have this transaction, and this is transaction details, and this is from to amount, and this is the ID. I just put the ID in the EOS testnet. Okay, Now we have both function implemented. One is to accept the customer signing request. The other is based on the status, we're gonna actually submit the request to the blockchain. Even though the information is very limited, just the ID submitted to the blockchain, because the ID is the hash code, it can be used to prove that the document exists at that time. Start from the next video, I will talk about how to build the front end to allow the user to easily use our product. Subscribe if you like it. See you next time. Bye.